who in 2025 marks his 40 years of unwavering dedication and service to Iskcon. Since joining in 1985, he has played a vital role in expanding Krishna consciousness across South Africa through leadership, preaching, and compassionate outreach. As the regional secretary for KwaZulu-Natal, he developed Bhatt Das programs, organized government outreach, and led leadership seminars, and pioneered New Age preaching. His service has also included translating Srila Prabhupada's books into the Zulu language for the Bhatt Das Prabhuji, printing and distributing the works of His Holiness Bhakti Swami, organizing harinams and japa retreats, and inspiring countless devotees through book distribution. He has also previously served as Vice President of the New Jagannath Temple and as Director of Food for Life South Africa, greatly expanding prasadam distribution and university preaching. His preaching extended to Namibia, where he was later appointed National Secretary by the GBC. Today, he continues his full-time service at Sri Raghunatha Temple, managing temple projects, Food for Life, and university outreach, while also guiding devotees through his classes of Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Srila Prabhupada's pastimes. He is also leading the Richard Bay Temple project to completion. For 4 decades, he has traveled, taught, and mentored devotees, tirelessly ensuring that Srila Prabhupada's mission reaches new hearts and communities. His life of devotion and leadership stands as an inspiration to all of us. We are very honored to welcome him here. So can we please welcome him with 3 loud Hari Bols. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol!
That was more like a purport. Sorry about that, because we meant to write a CV for the Sannyas ministry, and they wanted it detailed, but it's longer than that. I have to compress it. So my apology, you have to hear all that. But anyway, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, thank you for receiving me. I was sent by Bhakti Keshav Maharaj to come to East Africa on a mission. I spent some time in Eldoret and Nairobi just for a day, and then I go back there to do a small seminar on Nectar of Instruction, the latter verses of Nectar of Instruction, and then I go back to South Africa. So it's very nice to be here. It's wonderful to be here in a beautiful temple and meeting many people from different walks of life. So today I was asked to maybe just look at the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, specifically maybe the Chatusloki, the 4 verses. We can speak a little bit, or we can have an interaction session with people over there. You could say something, you could ask something, it would be very good. But I was very impressed with this garland this morning, and I don't know who makes it, but it's really beautiful. Who makes it? Oh, okay, it's really beautiful, I must say. My garlands are very beautiful. I took it to the room and I brought it back down. So it was very, very nice. So chapter 10, Krishna is speaking about his appearance. Generally, we don't find people speaking about themselves, glorifying themselves. It's not very good. There was a song probably long back about self-praise has no recommendation. But here we see Krishna is blowing his trumpet to a certain extent, but not too much. And he says in the end, he's not doing too much, the last 42nd verse. So the Bhagavad Gita is a very systematic book. It is not, jumping from one place to the other. And when you make a study of the Gita, and you break it down, you'll find the first 7 verses of this particular chapter is dealing with understanding Krishna's unknowability, one serves man. So his origin is very difficult to understand, because sometimes even our practice of Krishna consciousness, There's a time when we have some doubt that, do you think Krishna is God? It happens. That small boy, Krishna, do you think he's God? But no, you know, when you develop love for the person, you can accept it. There was one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, Satsarup Maharaj, had that doubt. And he was asking Prabhupada. That doubt is always there. Then the next 4 verses, which is important that we're going to concentrate on a little bit, is the opulence or the Chatusloki from 8 to 11. The opulence of his position and the source, like that. And then from 12 to 18, Arjuna accepts Krishna's position and requests him to get more of his opulences. So Arjuna get more convinced by hearing about Krishna's opulence. And generally, you know, we want to be with people of opulence. We want to be with people who are opulent also, even if we don't have the opulences. We somehow get friendly with the person and then we want to be with him because he's a rich person. You know, it's like that. Like today I was writing Keshav Maharaj a mail. Before, earlier when I was sitting at the Govinda, I was writing a mail. And his mail I was explaining because he's from a Gujarati background. Anyway, Gujarati background, maybe lots of oh my God. Yeah. So this Iskcon movement can't function without you. No, it will function. But you know, Prabhupada said when he went to Gujarat, he said 2 things. He said 3 things. He said 1, Bengali birth is special. Gujarati birth is special. And the 3rd thing he said, Nanda Maharaj's father, Krishna's father, Nanda Maharaj, was a Gujarati. So all the Gujarati people, they started getting very excited, you know. But then when I was in Eldoret, I wrote to him and I was telling, when I was in Eldoret and I saw the people just giving so much of money just to build a temple, then I really appreciated what Prabhupada said. Because it's amazing how they came forward to give so much of money. It's like when I went to, we were putting up a center. It's very away from Durban. It's like many hours away. And almost in the completion. So one person took me to a Gujarati lady's house. So I walked in, he wanted to introduce me. Before he could introduce me, I said, I came for money. So that fellow was like bewildered. You know, you're thinking, why did I do that? They know, they understand. They know what I came for. So the lady gave like 403,000 rand just to put the concreting, the slabs. So that's a lot of money. And just in one line, one word. So yeah, so the point is opulence. Opulence is there. And we would like to be people who are opulent. So Krishna also has opulences, and when we gaze opulences, then we become closer to him. We become a little closer to Krishna. But there's so many things I can say about the 10th chapter, but we'll go to the 8th verse. And every Bhagavad Gita is, because I have to read from my... Oh, okay. This is good. This Bhagavad Gita is not as it is. Because he's using it, you see? Sometimes people keep it in the plastic and they say as it is. This is good. Good using it. So lots of places. So Krishna said, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarva pravartati iti matva bhajanti Buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all material, spiritual and material world. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage me in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So there's a purport, but we won't read the whole purport. But we'll just run through some points that are very important in the purport. And you can see how Prabhupada wrote his purport this text 8, the theme is the source of all. So Krishna established that everything comes from him. And when one surrenders or when one engages in devotional service, and then they worship Krishna with all their heart, then they can understand this, that everything is coming from him. Because sometimes we have doubt that also everything is coming from Krishna. So how do we understand that everything is coming from Krishna? How do we get closer to Krishna? How do you get closer to Krishna?
By knowing him, by reading about him.
Yeah, by hearing. And you see that in this purport, Srila Prabhupada covered many verses from the different scriptures. If you look at it, he's quoting from Moksha Dharma, from Gopal Tapani Upanishad, from different scriptures to establish Krishna's supremacy. So, generally when we speak to people, we should always quote the scripture, because people may not have faith in what we say, but they may have faith in the scripture. And then he goes on to quote the Gopal Tapani Upanishad, Narayana Upanishad, Maha Upanishad, Moksha Dharma, Vara Purana, so many scriptures he's quoting. But to know that Krishna is the source of everything may take us a little while to digest. You know, sometimes when we talk about creation, and there's a whole thing, how the creation comes about, and probably you're aware of it, but I won't talk about it now. It's a long topic. But the point is the way it's, how everything takes place. So I was giving a class recently, and one person raised, why does Krishna have to do all this, expand himself? So many Manu, so many Lord Shiva, Brahma. Why does he have to do all that? But no, the thing is, any institution requires organization and intelligence. Any institution requires that organization. Not anybody can just run up the altar and do an outing. It's all organized, so the person has to do it. So we have different roles and responsibilities. Like that, in the universe, we also have people with roles and responsibilities. So there's different roles different people have. Then he was still not so convinced, and I was telling him, he was like thinking about it. I said, you're the president here. Why they make you the president? Because you also have to manage and run things and do things. But Krishna is the CEO, the Chief Enjoyment Officer. Krishna. He's like the chief person. So we have to understand that. Should we wait till they finish or? Okay. Yeah. So it's important to know that yes, we have systems in place, we have to follow protocol, we have to do all these things. Where before Prabhupada could leave the planet in 1977, and the devotees were spending a lot of time with him, the whole night through. But Deviraj Swami took rest up in the Brahmachari quarters. His shift was over. And at 1 o'clock, around 1-ish, Prabhupada someone to call him to his bedside. So he got up quickly and ran to Prabhupada, and he said, Prabhupada, he couldn't speak very well at that time. He said, will this movement carry on after I leave? And he said, yes, we follow the principle, we chant our rounds, we follow everything, will carry on. And Prabhupada said 2 words, organization this is important, that yes, so we have to understand that in the structure of the universe, there are all these personalities, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva. And generally, I don't use the word demigods, I use Devata and Devi and Devatas. Because it's like sometimes minimizing the position of it sound, but in the English dictionary, that's the closest you could come to as a word as demigod. So don't be offended if you worship Lord Shiva. It's such an amazing personality. So I was invited to somebody's house in Eldoret, and there was another lady there, it was Kavita Patel. So she was asking me, is there any compromise between, worshiping Krishna and Shiva, because she grew up with it. So I said no, and I said one song which glorifies Radha and Krishna, sung by Lord Shiva. So I said to that, to hear. And then I told her, yes, you can worship Lord Shiva in a way. You should have this first thing, you should have this understanding that Krishna is supreme. He's the source of all. That's the first understanding. Just like when you notice, sometimes when you go on the streets, I don't know how much it is here, but when you go on the street, you find African people dancing more than Indian people. Do you experience that? Do you know why? Because they don't know Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. They don't equate Krishna to be on the same level. And that's an offense to the holy name. So they don't know that. So they're not committing that offense. So the thing is, I was speaking to him and I told him, if you do it, you worship Krishna, you offer the water, you buy all clean utensils, they give a whole list of things to buy, you offer water to Krishna, and then you do the bathing for the lingam. Very good. So like that, we can bring people closer to Krishna. But even if they can't really exclusively surrender to Krishna, but at least they have that understanding. It's not that, Lord Shiva is a great personality and we can speak so much about him, but we must understand that Krishna is the source. That understanding we must have. So then in text 9, okay, let me just read text 9. Machita Makata Prana Bodhyante Paraspara Katyanta Shamamnitya Tusyanti Jaramanticha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So these are the symptoms of a pure devotee. He's constantly hearing, he's constantly chanting, he's always thinking of Krishna. His whole life is devoted in Krishna's service. So these are great souls. I'm sure lots of you are also like that, giving all your time and attention and affection to Krishna. So it's very good. It reminds me, I heard once, like, Srila Prabhupada, Bhatt Das Prabhuji, he's no longer with us. But he was saying in one of his recordings, only 20 years ago, that there was a Mr. Gupta. In South Africa, the name Gupta is not good. So I come from South Africa. So then you say Gupta, then they will know you about Gupta. Anyway, there was a Mr. Gupta in Delhi somewhere. And Prabhupada sometimes talking about management and talking different things about building material. And this person said, no, but you should be like thinking of Krishna all the time. You're talking about all these other things. And then Prabhupada told him to put his head by his back or something like that. and you could hear the Hare Krishna mantra. So somebody is thinking of Krishna 24 hours a day. This is a pure devotee. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, he talks about 2 stages of devotional service. We won't read the whole purport, I'll just paraphrase it. He talks about the preliminary stage. They relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself. But in the mature stage, they are always situated in the love of God and relish the highest perfection, which is exhibited by the Lord in His abode. So there's 2 stages. There is, like sometimes you bring service, but there's many, there's many moods you can do service. Like some people can be very busy in service. They're making noise, hey, let me see here, go here, go there. You know what I'm talking about. You get this type of people also. So there's different types of people in the service, but they attach to the service itself. But as you advance in Krishna consciousness, you love Krishna more, then you won't be attached to the service because you do the needful at any time. You're not attached to like dressing the deity only or making garlands only. You do other things. As whenever Krishna wants you at His service, you're ready to do it. You do the needful. And therefore, my strategy is always, you don't keep people too long in a service. They must be rotating. Otherwise they get attached to it, they want others to do it. Not true. True. Maybe it don't happen here so much, but in other parts of the world I can tell you, very much true. so you rotate it, maybe give others a chance. So that mature stage, and then Prabhupada speaks in the purport about the Bhakti Lata beach. Then he talks about how you sow the seed, and then how it grows into a nice plant, a sapling, and then it goes and goes and goes and goes to all the parts of the universe, to the Brahma Jyoti, right? And then it twirls around Krishna's lotus feet. Just like when we used to plant certain vegetables, they grow they're very coiling way. So you have some wood or something, you put them on a fence, and you see how it curls around, So like that, when you twine around Krishna's lotus feet, and Krishna's lotus feet is very soft, very beautiful. Can you imagine if Krishna, you see Krishna, what would you do? If you see Krishna, what would you do? Huh? Beautiful 16-year-old boy, how would you respond?
Fall at His lotus feet.
Huh?
Fall at His lotus feet.
Fall at His lotus feet. But how a young girl would respond if you see a 16-year-old boy? There was when somebody asked Prabhupada a question, how's Christian consciousness? And this boy was young, he was a boy. He said it's just like a 16-year-old girl walking past you. So that's how Krishna consciousness is. So yes, there's so many things you can talk about Prabhupada, his experiences, but that's how he described the love for Krishna. You respond in that way, like you want to embrace him. It's like Kumar, the story from the Bhagavatam later. He goes on his journey all the way to Krishna. He doesn't go to Krishna, he goes to Vaikuntha. And then there he's thinking, but he can't fit in there because, there's Narayan formed and he's a cowboy boy. He doesn't fit in there. Because he reached a certain level of maturity. But then he was not happy. But he couldn't go from Vaikuntha to Goloka. So Uddhava and Narad Muni detected that something was wrong and told him back, go to Vrindavan and practice again. Because you have to do sadhana. You have to get, more accustomed to, like our cowherd boy is. And then the spiritual world, when he goes there, Krishna is not there. Krishna is gone to herd the cows. He's gone to herd the cows. And later, when Krishna sees him, he's coming. When Krishna sees him, later he's coming from the spiritual world. And there, he sees his old friend called Kumar, but in the spiritual world he's known as Sadhu. And then Krishna, embraces him, but he faints. He faints and his tears from his eyes wet the spiritual world. And the residents were very angry with Sadhu, Kumar. And then Bhagavan said, go to his ears and call out, Krishna! And then Krishna came back to consciousness. So yes, you can go back to the spiritual world, but there's a whole process also. You pierce all the coverings of the universe, and you go there. Then you want to see Krishna. And Krishna may not be there, and God is herding the cows, coming later. And like this, but what I learned from that point was that the spiritual master is always with me, in this world and in that world. See, Balaram represents the Adi Guru, the original Guru, and he helped Gokuma to bring Krishna back to consciousness. So that's very interesting. Having said that, how many of you have read that book? Beautiful book, We Are Bhagavatam Gita. You didn't read it, huh? It's a very beautiful book. If you have a chance, you can read it. I don't think so it's very based, but just check. You can get it and read it. But I think Bhakti Sharu Maharaj gave a very simple translation to it. You can read it in one sitting. So try to read it. So the main thing is that we have to do the hearing and chanting. For a plant to grow, you need sunlight and water. So the hearing and chanting is important, and that's what Prabhupada comes in the purport. Now when you hear and chant, just like when you water the flowers, then they start getting, the trees, you get flowers, you get fruits. So the similarly you go back to Krishna consciousness, back to the spiritual world by hearing and chanting. And Prabhupada towards the end of the purport, he talks about an analogy, like a fish cannot live without water. And then he speaks about also another analogy, that a young boy and girl take pleasure in association. So similarly, we should surrender more to Krishna and get the association of devotees and go back to God. So we'll do the 10th line, that was 8, 9, the 10th one. Let's do this one. And then we can take questions if you have. Is it okay? Any questions you have now? Then I can, as I'm waiting. Do you have any questions? No. Okay, we'll leave the next one. This is a beautiful verse. Kesam Satyayim Tanam Vajatam Purvakam Didami Guni Yogam Tangenamam Upayantiche. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So Krishna gives you that intelligence, Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga means action in Krishna consciousness, is a sign of the highest intelligence, as Prabhupada puts it in his purport. So he gives you that intelligence to surrender to him. When I was earlier on, just before I come here, I remember in the 39th verse, when I read it a while back, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks about this point of Buddhi Yoga. I'll just read at least 239 it is.
Yeah.
Huh? 239 in the purport. Yeah. It talks about, Arjuna has already accepted Krishna as his spiritual master by surrendering himself unto him. Sisya Sehasari from Prabhupada. Consequently, Krishna will now tell him about the working process in Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga. In other words, the practice of devotional service only for the sense gratification of the Lord. The Buddhi Yoga is clearly explained in chapter 10, verse 10, as being a direct communion with the Lord, who is sitting as Paramatma in everyone's heart. But such communion does not take place without devotional service. One who is therefore situated in devotion or transcendent loving service to the Lord, or in other words, in Krishna consciousness, attains to the state of Buddhi Yoga by special grace of the Lord. The Lord says therefore that only to those who are always engaged in devotional service out of transcendent love does he award the pure knowledge of devotion in love. In that way, the devotee can reach him easily in the ever blissful kingdom of God. So from within, Krishna is giving you that intelligence. And what is that verse in the 15th chapter? Savasyacha iti sana vishnu matasmiti jnanam aparamcha. I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So from within, he's giving you that inspiration. But for the devotee, it is a little different. See, the super soul is neutral by nature. It doesn't interfere in your desires. It's neutral. The super soul also sanctions wrong things and right things. Both things sanctions. So Krishna sanctions everything. So sometimes people find it hard to believe. If they don't accept that, then there must be some power superior to God if he doesn't sanction everything. So he gives you that intelligence in Bhakti Yoga, in devotion. But the important person in your whole Krishna consciousness is the Guru, the spiritual master. And Prabhupada writes a very interesting thing in this purport. He says, one may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization. Not necessarily. Yeah? If sometimes you say, hey, that fellow is not in our society, you won't go back to Godhead. You know what I'm talking about? So, but it says here, one may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization, but still if he is not intelligent enough, Krishna from within give him instructions to come to him. So how do we know somebody has gone back to God? How would we know that? How would we? Because sometimes that fellow couldn't have gone back to God. He wasn't chanting Hare Krishna. So it's very difficult to say. So even if somebody is not attached to an organization, they can also go to God. That's what it is. Is it true? You saw it like that? So it's like that, yes. So Krishna from within, but the only qualification when you're sincere and devoted. So let me ask you, what is your definition of sincerity? What's your definition of sincerity? What do you think? We say he's a very sincere devotee. What do you mean by that?
He follows the instructions of his spiritual master, word, person, word.
Okay, yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah. Prabhupada's definition more specifically was, what you said. To follow all instruction, no matter how big or how small. Like all the instructions. Like how Prabhupada sang, how he interacted with people. Like sometimes I was singing here and everywhere, but it's like not the way Prabhupada sang sometimes. Like, once I was singing for the Lord Nishiniya Pranam, the one person told me, no, because I just stopped dead, singing last mantra. And he was surprised. I just stopped and I just left everything. I put the cartons down. But he was saying, no, no, no. You have to chant, something after that. But that's not how Prabhupada did it. When you hear him teaching the devotees, and when they first join, he just stopped at Namaste, Narashivaya, like that, one word by word. And he just stops. Simple things, like for example, like when you see the prayer Diwali plays Prabhupada saying, like we say ki and then somebody has to say jai, right? But when you hear him carefully, he says ki jai, ki jai. He says it like that. And he don't mention any of the deities' names. So just a few things, but I'm just saying, so no matter how big or small the instructions that we follow, then that's a sincere devotee, following the instruction of the spiritual master, like that. So we should perform some sort of work for Krishna, but with love. With love. So Krishna will give you guidance. He's giving guidance to all living entities. Like if you throw a bag of, maybe if you throw some rice out there in the field, and some birds will immediately come there. Who's telling you to come there? Who's telling you? There's something somewhere else. But Krishna from within said, I go there and have this grace. The other example Prabhupada gave was, if somebody, in the beginning of dogs, even the puppies will born blind. How do they know where the nipples of the mother is to go? Get some food, milk. How's the puppy used? Who's directing? So it's Krishna from within. From within. So we'll do the 11th verse, and we'll just be going on until we talk about the 11th verse. And then we can take questions and okay. So taste of the Kampa, Dhamma Jnana Jantalama, Nisyami Atma Bhavasta, Jnana Dipena Vasvada. To show that special mercy, are dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So in this purpose, which the theme is special mercy of the Lord. So the Lord destroy all these impediments and dispel any ignorance in the heart, the shining lamp of knowledge. See, having a lot of knowledge also, when you read a lot of books, sometimes you want to impress the audience also, and that's not very good. We read a lot, and we may gain knowledge. Because sometimes, even in spiritual institutions, we may be giving a lot of knowledge. It may be just information, and it doesn't transform the person. There's no transformation because you're just giving knowledge, or you're just quoting from the scriptures, or you're just saying things, but you haven't got realized knowledge. So that doesn't have a very big effect on the other person. You see, sometimes people are not very educated, but they're able to communicate and even convince others about Krishna. Because of their simplicity, this is how I am. Like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was very intelligent. And if people came to him, like big time professors, no professors, they don't disrespect anybody. A professor came and a big time man came. So he asked one question, something, he wanted to know give some higher knowledge. But anyway, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati gave one name of a person. One of the disciple. So the person went and found out who is this person. So he asked, where is that person? They said, oh, he's in a garden there, go there, go take a walk there. So he went all the way there. This person can't be asked, you won't be able to answer my question. Maybe Bhaktisiddhanta made a mistake, let me go back. So he went back, same person, go there, go in the garden. So when he asked the person about Krishna, he said, see all this what I'm doing? I'm offering it to Krishna. And Krishna is very pleased. I'm just doing this planting, I'm offering to Krishna, and this is devotion. So it's a very simple answer. So yes, sometimes we want knowledge just to impress the audience. But but we may not really have an effect on the audience. There's so many things. We can say there's so many subtleties that we have to learn about in spiritual practices. So like this, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur always used very simple methods for very big people. So people were very knowledgeable. Even somebody walked in and asked him some question. He said, you see the brahmachari there, he's cleaning the brass and doing some brass with it, we won't help him. So as he was doing it, his heart was getting cleansed. The heart was getting cleansed. Then later Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur asked him, do you have any question? He said, no, everything is answered. So the Lord is seated in everybody's heart. And He can give anybody knowledge whenever they want it. Because really everybody knows everything. Because we are all part and parcel of Krishna. We just cover it now, for now. Everybody has everything. So we have to be, and Prabhupada warns in there in the Nectar of Devotion, reading too many books can confuse you also. You start because you hear contradictory statements of different scriptures, and then you can't reconcile it. Then you leave the movement. We had instances like that, when people left us, when they read too much books and then they came out with so many things. So yes. So, and Prabhupada writes in the purport, only qualifications to carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, all the knowledge is revealed within the heart. And Krishna gives it, Prabhupada gives an analogy, Krishna is like a shining lamp, or like the sun, who destroys the darkness in the heart of the devotee. And the heart of a conditioned living entity, there's like 3 points which he says in the purport, covered with dust of materialism since millions of births, cleaned by chanting and devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. So we can also get this mercy and clean our heart, because in the heart there's always, all these small weeds. When you're watering the seed, then what is happening? The weeds are also growing there. And the weeds are going to choke the plant. So therefore we have to take the weeds out. And those weeds are very dangerous for the advancement in spiritual life, like pride, duplicitous behavior, envy. You know about envy, right? Hare Krishna. So, what's envy? What is the definition of envy? Jealous. Jealous, huh? Yeah, synonymous, jealous. But Prabhupada's definition was simple. He said, you don't like somebody. You don't like somebody. You're all like everybody, right? But he writes in his purport in the 9th canto that everybody is envious in this material world. Otherwise, why would we here? We are all envious. And that envy has to be removed. And Another thing has to be removed is pride. So therefore, for a devotee to actually function or become more advanced and practice Krishna consciousness on a higher level, he must be above the mode of goodness. Must be. We battle, we all battle in the mix. Now and then we get angry, we do this, we do that, But we have to rise above goodness. And there's two pitfalls in goodness. One is the thing is that you think you're too good. And the second thing, you become complacent. Because I'm very good. But you're still in the modes of nature, in the levels of nature. So you have to transcend. So all these little things, we have to get out of the heart. And pride, envy, or jealousy, anger. Anger is not a bad quality, but how it's used. How you use anger. Because our Bhagavad Gita is talking about anger anyway. It's a fight. You can't fight and you take it slowly, pick up the stick and hit somebody. You pull there slowly, not like that. So yes. So there are many things can be said about this particular verse. But please take it very seriously. These 4 verses, the Charan Sloka, it's again here Prabhupada also speaks about, he says, from this answer is given by the Supreme Lord, those who engage in pure devotional service, even though they may be without sufficient education, and even without sufficient knowledge of the Vedic principle, are still helped by the Supreme Lord as stated in this verse. So be aware of that, and cognizant of that, as we progress in devotional practices. We can take some questions now, and then we give me 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I think it's 25 past, right? We can take some questions. Yes.
So, I have a simple question. First of all, let me say thank you for the wonderful session. My question is it by my exertion that if I read the Gita, then I try to follow it by my own understanding? For example, it says surrender to Krishna. So, let's say I'm trying to tell my mind to surrender. I have no idea what to surrender means, but I'm trying to do things out of my own thinking. Is it by my own exertion that I finally attain Krishna consciousness, or is it by some fortune, like by the mercy of Krishna, even if I don't understand the details, I just make that effort to keep reading it, and reading it, there is some possibility that by some miracle he helped me to attain it. Or is there I can read by my own thinking, with my own understanding?
Okay, yeah. So is it like your own effort or your own endeavor to take your spiritual practices? Is it by Krishna's mercy? Is it, I was just thinking as you were speaking from a verse from the Gita. It says here, persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are free from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. And in the purport it says here, those eligible for elevation to the transcendental position are mentioned in this verse. For those who are sinful, atheistic, foolish and deceitful, it is very difficult to transcend the duality of desire and hate. Only those who have passed their lives in practicing their regulative principles of religion, who have acted piously and who have conquered sinful reaction, can accept devotional service and gradually arise to pure knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is from the Gita. I think it's very apt to the thing that you have, the question that you raised. But yes, it's like the devotees, when they joined the Krishna consciousness movement, then they told Prabhupada, we are very pious. We have taken to spiritual life. And Prabhupada said, no, I created your piety. I created your piety. So the thing is, it says in the Gita that nobody can take to spiritual practices. And for you, in your previous life, you didn't know what you did. You may have done like maybe 2% good. And therefore you have, you can take to it. There's so many people out here, they are not surrendering. So you're special in that sense. Because you've got the mercy of Krishna. So, your both is required, See, just like sometimes we even, when we go to universities to preach, it's very difficult to preach to these people, like they don't want to surrender in any way. And when sometimes we give them prashadam, sometimes we tell them to take this, or we give them a book, different things we do with them. And just by touching the book, just by seeing the devotee, they make advancement. For example, like there was one devotee, she'd sit in the temple all the time, he didn't like going out. So Bhakti Chara Maharaj told him, they said, no, just dress up and take a walk to the shop. You know what? As you make people say, hey, it's Hare Krishna for the way, look at this for Hare Krishna. So it's that advancement. So yes, you get the mercy of the devotee, for you to like come here, you surrender to a high level. The level? Well, that's a good level. Very good. So it's a high level of surrender. So it comes by Krishna's mercy, but Krishna's mercy is actually given by the devotee. So the devotee is very, like I had one lady came to me on Krishna's and she said, I don't believe in God, I'm an atheist. I think, buy this book, read it. If you don't want it, give me my money. When you come back, I'll give you your money. She said, okay, she read it. Following, she was there, she became a devotee. She just read the book. So Krishna, Prabhupada preached to her. I didn't do much, I just told her the book. So Prabhupada was directly preaching to her. So like that, yes, mercy is required at all stages. Even when you're very advanced, you still require the mercy of the devotee. Even if you're in a very high stage, you're in the pure love of God, you still need the devotee. Okay?
Thank you for such a wonderful class. I just had one question. And when we see the start of these brochures, Krishna says that I am the source of everything. The wise who know this, they dedicate themselves to become devotees basically. So my question is, but we have been here in this material world since time immemorial. Where do we get that inspiration? Where do we get that realization? Where do we get that knowledge that we need to seek our Krishna? Because we don't know anything about that. Krishna is starting this Shloka by saying that the wise, they already do it. But for us who are not wise, who don't even know anything, how do we make progress?
So how do we make progress? See, the thing is, it's for us to make progress in spiritual life, that is why Prabhupada instituted, various ways of presenting Krishna consciousness to different people. Because remember, if you're especially coming from a, Indian family or Vedic, who's following Vedic culture from birth or from young age, then they should know that bringing a child means you have to make him spiritual. They know that, but they will, later things you just go out of the way and just forget this process of spiritual life as you grow older. But nobody should become a mother, father, like that, or a teacher if he cannot liberate his children. That is the responsibility of the parent, which they also don't know. Which they also don't So then therefore they bring in this world products of Kali Yuga. The birth of, see, like our process is from womb to tomb. It's from womb to tomb. If the process is right from birth, you do all the purification processes for a child of good birth. And even Bhakti Siddhanta, Bhakti Thakur was praying for a ray of Vishnu. So we can do that. And then we will, a great soul will take birth. But within Bhakti Vinod Thakur's family, not everybody was on that level. It's an individual thing also. And your point is, like you said that, in one sense, that we don't have this knowledge. Why we don't have the knowledge? But therefore it is important, for ourselves to go give out this knowledge. And the way we do it, we have to, be very intelligent how we present it. Like for example, in Africa, Prabhupada specifically recommended food for life, prashadam distribution. We may have some challenges by now, but not all that. We also have lots of challenges in all these things. Prashadam distribution and harinam. Because the people are not ready for philosophy. There's a vast majority of people not ready for these things. So we just do chanting, dancing, and then they will get some intelligence. Like I remember, when I first started Krishna consciousness, there was a Muslim man on the street, he saw me distributing this book. He said, one day I'll become like you. And I'm thinking, when is this guy going to become like me? So I lost track of him for a while. You should see me every time standing in the same place, he'll be going up and down. And he was a lawyer actually. And then after a while, he came. And there's a documentary on him we made, He slowly took to the process of Krishna consciousness. But I didn't tell him much. Not at all. So then they were interviewing him, and then he was saying how he met me in the street like 40 years ago. That was like now 40 years ago. And how he started reading the books and it made so much sense to him. And he read some of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's books. You're familiar with him, right? Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Yeah. So he read some of his books also. And then gradually he taken to the process of Krishna consciousness, but I lost touch with him. He went to Johannesburg and I lost touch with him. But he had a company called A Man Must Work. Karma Yoga, A Man Must Work. So the thing is, we have to go and give this out for the people become fortunate. Just like if you look at Krishna consciousness itself, without Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this movement, when he came, and a lot of people don't know about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then this movement spread. And then, the acharyas, obviously like Prabhupada, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta, and Prabhupada took it all over the world. And then the people become wise like that. So we have to give it out, because people in this Kali Yuga, they're very lazy, misguided, mandasu mandu lazy, misguided. They don't want to take to spiritual practices. So to become, wise is you also have to get the mercy. Because there's many people in India don't know about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Many, many people. And you can't, in India, you won't go to Krishna if you don't know who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is and follow his teachings. It will be difficult for you to go to Goloka Vrindavan. You may go to Vaikuntha, but to go to Goloka Vrindavan will be difficult. Because the process is different. Okay? I think time's up. One more we can take it in 5 minutes. Anybody want to comment on anything? And we will also. Ladies, you say anything? Prabhus? Okay. ki. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Bhatt Das Prabhuji, for being such a wonderful class. So we have Prabhuji's association for one more day. So tomorrow, please come for Raghunatha class from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. And then we'll have lunch program after that. And please take advantage of Prabhuji's association here. Ask him any more questions if you want that you don't receive public. But have any questions in comment, please ask him and take benefit of his presence. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everybody. I don't have prashadam, right?